Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pixel Related Podcast. Adam, I just was thinking about the fact that while the intro is playing, I can hear it and you can't hear it, so you're just sitting in silence, waiting for me to start talking.
Pure silence.
So you know,
I got no fucking clue.
It's
no clue what's going on.
It's pretty great. It's the magic of podcasting. Yeah, I can hear everything and Adam can hear nothing.
Great system we got going.
As always, I'm your host Kyle, and as I was just talking about, I am joined by Adam.
I didn't get football until I realized that the Patriots lost, and I was really fucking happy about that. Like that made my soul feel warm. Like that was a good feeling. That was a pretty good thing that happened.
Yeah, I think that seems to be unless you're like literally live in Boston or from Boston, I think that's the general consensus of America is that no one likes the Patriots. Because they cheat and they're too good, I guess. I don't know.
They're the John Cena of football, if that's a more contemporary reference. They keep winning. They're fucking boring. They're kind of racist.
That's true. Yeah, but this is not a football podcast. This is a video game podcast, and that's what we're here to talk about. And so we didn't get a podcast last week. It's part of that was scheduling. Part of that is because we were busy playing all of the games because the games have started, Adam. All of the games.
Arby's, we got the games.
No.
It's actually kind of their Facebook slogan. Every so often it's like, oh, here's your Shadow of the Colossus thing. We didn't include it. I did start playing that Shadow. That Shadow of the Colossus thing is really fucking good.
Pretty. So we were just we're not going to talk about Shadow of the Colossus right now. Maybe later.
No.
The reason that we're not going to talk about Shadow of the Colossus right now is because I am not playing it, and the reason I'm not playing it is because I'm going to acquire a PlayStation 4 Pro tomorrow, and I am specifically holding to play Shadow of the Colossus until I have that in my possession, because that seems like if you're going to go play the fancy new version of Shadow of the Colossus, you should probably play it with the 4K and the HDR and the 60 frames per second, and... Yeah, and because I never beat Shadow Colossus. I only played about half of Shadow Colossus, and so I need to go. Yeah, I know. I'm a weird.
You really do. You really do need to go play that.
So I'm looking. So I'm going to actually do it this time, and so I'm going to get this fancy new version. But that's going to have to wait until I actually get my my PlayStation 4 Pro because GameStop's got a good trade-in deal right now, and I'm going to take advantage of it. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about games that are. Well, Shadow of the Colossus is already out, too. We're going to talk about other games that are also out. 2 games came out, I guess not last week, but the week before, because they came out on Friday, right? They both came out on Friday the 26th. Yep. We're going to talk about Dragon Ball for a bit. We're not going to talk Dragon Ball probably as much as you might think, because the other game, Monster Hunter World, has like captured both of us. Put down a shock
40
trap.
hours.
Put down a shock trap.
Goddamn
threw
hours.
trank bombs. Both of us were captured.
Bombs.
Yeah, we've just been all in on that. And so that's what we're going to be talking about for the most part. But let's start off with Dragon Ball FighterZ. No, I feel like the internet is saying it's not. You don't pronounce the Z.
They're
you pronounce
wrong.
The Z as an S.
No. It's because Namco came out and said like, yeah, it's Fighters, but like you capitalized the fucking Z, you bunch of nerds.
Exactly.
It's FighterZ. Fuckers.
Yeah, you put the emphasis on the Z, not us. Like. We're just following.
That's on you, and they're like, "Well, because it's cool." Well, it doesn't make fucking sense, so it's FighterZ.
I mean, I can hear the argument that it's cool. That's a pretty good argument, actually, because that's kind of what this game is, right? I mean, this game is like, oh yeah, it's just cool. Like it's. I mean, we knew what this was. What was this announced at E3 last year? I think
something like that, yeah.
And it looks absolutely gorgeous. People I remember one of the things people talked about when they put out the South Park game is how this looked exactly like South Park. This game looks exactly like the anime, which is insane because it is 3D characters and the environments are kind of a weird mixture of like 3D and like flat, like it's an absolutely gorgeous game. But then on top of that, it's a fighting game that is kind of Marvel vs. Capcom levels of 3-on-3 crazy over the top smashing people through mountains
simple.
and
Like it's simple, though,
yeah,
is the thing.
it's approachable.
Unlike, yeah, like MVC, like it is really simple because like a lot of it is because the auto combos. Like you can do your regular combos, but it has the auto combos kind of turned on by default. Pretty much everything is quarter circles. Like all of your special attacks are in some way tied to a quarter circle.
Yeah, even the supers are quarter circle and just a different button where it's like in
yeah.
Street Fighter, it's like, oh, do 2 forward quarter circles and then hit 3 buttons at the same time. And
it is Z on your controller. Like, motherfucker, I'm not hitting a Z on this bit. Yeah. Like, no, which ain't happening.
Just resulted in me never doing super combos whenever I dabbled with Street Fighter because I don't have a stick. Whereas this game, I can actually do super combos and do kinds of crazy stuff. And it's insane because I'm not a fighting game person at all. Like, usually I play fighting games to do, like, the dumb story mode that's in them, which has actually been pretty good for the last couple of years with, like, Mortal Kombat and Injustice and Tekken and whatnot. Story mode in this game does not seem like it is very good. It's a lot of, like, dialogue and talking that is not interesting. Yeah, and clones. Yeah. Well, because if you don't have clones, then how can you get the good guys to fight the good guys? You have to have the clones. That's the only.
I mean, look, there have been. Look, you want to talk about arcs where the good guys have had to fight the bad. Look, okay, so Captain Ginyu's in this fucking game, so they could just do that. They could just have Ginyu fucking do his woo bullshit and switch with people. But no, we got to do this. Evil clones taking over the city.
Yeah, I mean they already did. I mean that was. I don't. Did you ever play Injustice 2 last year? The story of that?
No.
Oh, so they did. They do. It's the main bad guy is Brainiac in that. So like, hey, like there's not a huge roster in that game per se, and so Brainiac mind controls people so you can fight them in the story. Because Blue Beetle is a good guy. How would you fight Blue Beetle as Green Arrow? I don't remember who fights who. But whatever, it's like, yeah, it's brain control. So I get that they had to do some type of convoluted way to make that a thing. Yeah. But that's kind of what I was going to this game for, was to check out the story, and the story mode seems kind of bland. But playing the game is super fun. And as someone who's not into fighting games per se, just being able to hit a single button and do like a predetermined combo, like I feel like just maybe this is bad, but like just kind of mashing buttons and doing random things. Yeah. I'm still doing cool stuff. And
there's enough depth there too that like once you start getting into like higher level stuff, if that's the way that you would want to go, which I don't think that either you or I would.
Probably not.
Like there's complexity there of like knowing like, okay, he's going to fire off a super, so what I should be using is instant transmission to get behind him, or he's going to use the Dragon Rush move, so there's this like little window where I can hit him with a fireball. Like the fireballs are just hitting a single button also, which is kind of
just this fireball button. Well, it's actually really cool that and so because it's a 3-on-3 fighter, like one of the things that was always, I think with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is the one that I played a lot of Capcom 2, but 3 was the most recent one because I never played Infinite that I played. And I feel like in that I could also just mash buttons and cool stuff would happen. But like when you're picking your team, it's like, I don't know what any of these guys do. Like I don't know what their movesets or whatever. And this one, like, because like you said, they're all based on quarter circle back or quarter circle forward. Like all the enemies, like you just have to play for like a couple seconds and you kind of figure out what their special moves are. It's going to be quarter circle back or forward and one of the 3, high, medium, low buttons, and you can basically figure out their moves. Like,
yeah, it's just kind of figuring out range.
Yeah,
like in all honesty, is like, okay, how much range does this guy have? Like I had a pretty decent team rolling with Frieza, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku. And I would always kind of have a third floating out there who I was just kind of like randomly trying. So like one time it was like Nappa, and he's got like some decent ground moves, but he doesn't have a lot of distance with him, or a few other people. But like, yeah, like you kind of just can experiment around. There's enough similarity with characters. There's differences. Like there's definite differences.
Oh yeah.
But the core move set is pretty similar. And even I found like just going online and playing is pretty unintimidating. Like, because of that kind of simplicity, you can go into a casual match and you can just go and like you lose. Okay, well I lost. Well, okay, what can I do better here? Okay, I won. Cool, great. Like it's a game that I can play online as a fighter and not feel like total shit about. At least at the level that I'm at right now, because I always feel like it's like, okay, you're gonna go online, you're gonna get your ass kicked. Okay, you're done.
Right.
At this point, it's like, okay, yeah, I've been going in maybe every few nights or so and just play a couple matches, and it's fun. Like it's not intimidating. Um, you know, it's funny. You brought up the Marvel versus Capcom, and not even a fucking year. Not even a fucking year has that game lasted.
And it's not going to be at EVO.
It's so bad. It's not at the Capcom Pro tournament.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's not at their own tournament.
Yeah, no, I saw they announced the games for EVO yesterday, the day before, or something like that. And obviously, Dragon Ball is on that list, but I was just like, wow, Infinite's not on that list. Like, that's the only way it could have been snubbed harder is if like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was on that list and not Infinite. Like,
yeah, I know we're gonna put MVC 2 on there. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're gonna.
Yeah.
I actually was kind of surprised that FighterZ has like it, because it does seem like kind of a simple thing. It does seem like, yeah, maybe there's not a ton of potential for growth with the community, but they're starting to embrace it.
Yeah,
And
well, it's kind of like,
cool.
I feel like there's always like there's always like, hey, this is like the new game that's out right now, and so that's going to be at EVO. Like, I think a better showing would be if it's at EVO next year. Like, if that community has continued to grow and evolve and like high level play and figuring out the play, you know, if that stuff has you know, kind of gets figured out by the people that actually do that stuff way above my level. That's the kind of thing that'll kind of show like what this game is going to be in the long run as far as like actual fighting game scene goes. Because I'm definitely not in that scene as a player, but I am definitely interested in that scene as a watcher, as a viewer. Because I do find that stuff pretty entertaining to sit down and watch EVO and watch the matches and all that stuff. I
feel like this was the first year that I saw people like within the FGC, and maybe it's just because like I'm not super deep into that stuff, but people like legitimately like, why the fuck do you keep putting Melee at this thing? Like, that was actually surprising to see people pissed off at Melee. Like, not necessarily that MVCI got like scrubbed out of existence for this thing, but that fucking Melee is still there. It's weird going on right now in that community.
I mean, that's. I'm always kind of surprised that Melee is the one that people have stuck to. But I don't know. Hey, if they'll put out Smash Brothers Switch and then everything will be fine. Maybe, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Dragon Ball's fun. I've definitely had fun. That's the type of thing I'll probably check in and mess around with it a little bit from time to time.
The one bad thing, that lobby system is real fucked up, and it's really bad. It's really not good.
They have fixed it, I shouldn't say fixed it.
It's better.
They have improved it. So better. It used to be around launch, it was this thing where it's like, all right, where are you? You're on the West Coast in the United States. Cool. All right, here's a list of lobbies. They're all full. So you have to like scroll down to find one that's open. And it's like, why am I doing? Just put me in a lobby. I don't care. Like,
just scroll down. Okay, this one's got 63. Oh nope, it's gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I didn't click that one fast enough. And so there was like a bunch of weird like stuff like that. Now it just drops you in a lobby, and if you want to switch to a different lobby, you go to talk to a guy. So in between like whatever you're doing, story mode, practice, ranked fights, blah, blah, you know, whatever. It's got like a hub, like a social hub that you can walk around, and you got a tiny little chibi version of your Dragon Ball character that you can customize your color and what character he is. And so, like, I guess that's a lobby that holds 64 people, and I'm not entirely sure the reason behind it besides watching a bunch of people run around. There's some like arena thing, which I think is like their like lobby system where like two people fight and everyone else watches. I think that's based around the lobby, but when I was trying to mess around with that, I couldn't get into any of those arena things, even just to watch or participate in, although I probably just wasn't patient enough to let it sit there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, however long it takes to
you gotta let it go for a while, which is frustrating. Like it's frustrating that that's how they're doing it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that thing just. I like the idea of it. I have my little fucking chibi Krillin in a policeman uniform, just walking around the square.
It's good stuff.
Around like, hey, there's Super Saiyan 3 Gaku. He's over there. And there's Yamcha as a baseball player. That's cool. I like the idea. It's a really shitty implementation of it.
Yeah, well, yeah. And, I mean, like I said, and just the fact that it just dumps you into a lobby rather than make you to jump through those hoops, like, that's already significantly better because, like, the last thing you want to do is spend the first, like, couple minutes of your game time trying to just find a place so that you can actually go play the game. But, yeah. I don't know. We have much else to say about Dragon Ball? I don't have a ton else to say about Dragon Ball. We might revisit at some point. If I didn't emphasize enough, the game is absolutely gorgeous. Like, just beautiful. Like, just, yes. Just great. Like I think it's like the same. It's like the same engine that Guilty Gear is on. Is that what I was?
Guilty Gear Zerd, yeah.
Yeah, that does like the crazy like shift between 2D and 3D stuff, which is bizarre.
It's the thing where you block the fireballs and they like kick them into the background and the background explodes. Yeah. It's fucking great. It's really cool.
They got some good. I mean, look, like the destructive finishes that you can do are pretty amazing as well. Just like
there are those like context sensitive. Have you seen the context sensitive?
No,
ones?
I've just gotten the normal destructive ones, but there's ones that are like you punch them through a planet or something. I've heard some people talk about that. Like,
there's like if you get like say like Trunks and Frieza, and Trunks wins, like he will fucking slice up Frieza. Like he does on the show, or like these like content, like these contextual
based
things
on like
within,
the people who are fighting and like probably the map that they're on. I imagine like no, I've just done ones where like I just punched people through like mountains or caused like the entire area to just be like one big explosion because I ended with a super move or whatever. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's actually funny because I when we were talking about how poor the like lobby and like multiplayer implementation stuff like that is in Dragon Ball, the first thing I think about is Monster Hunter, which also has very poor of that.
It's really not great lobby. But goddamn that game though.
You know what it is? I think the stuff with like the lobby system, it's kind of like a lot of with Monster Hunter. A lot of it's kind of just obfuscated. What's the word? I can't think of the word. Something like that.
Obfuscated.
Yeah, obfuscated. It's like a lot of it's just that, like, once you kind of understand how it works and how you have to jump through all these hoops to do what you're trying to do, it makes sense. And that's kind of a lot of what Monster Hunter is there's a lot of mechanics, there's a lot of stuff in that game, and it does slowly trickle. Like, it's not like it just throws you into the world and everything's unlocked. It's as you're going through the story, it's unlocking. Oh, now you have the equipment. Now there's a guy who you can turn materials into and buy other materials. Oh, now there's a guy who just shows up every now and then, and you can just buy stuff from him that's kind of hard to get. Like they are slowly unrolling it, but even then, within those systems, there's a bunch of stuff that's you kind of have to dive into and deep dive to even understand. Like just playing with Robbie, like we have like been teaching each other little things that we have found that's not explained anywhere in the game. Of like, oh yeah, if you just go into your map and highlight something and hit right, click on the right stick, then it'll send you a path to get to that. It's like, oh, like I
hey, let me send you this. Let me send you this screenshot of how you can see where all of your materials are. Yeah. It's buried under fucking 4 layers of selling items and shit.
Yeah, that's right. That's up. But
that's so fucked up because like it doesn't tell you that that's where it is, and that's such a critical part of getting money in that game, is knowing what you have and what you can sell.
Whatever. Just assume you have it. It's all this. Fine. No, how you get money is you do like the really easy investigations, and then you use the voucher, and you get like 20,000 or 30,000 at a time for doing something easy like killing 10 Shamoses or something.
I gotta do more investigations. I don't do many of the investigations. I just tend to stick to the optionals.
Yeah. Well, the investigations, they're the things that like they give you more money, and they have usually a little bit harsher of requirements. But anyways, that's all regardless. Monster Hunter is an amazing game. Like
fucking God.
Let's be real. Monster Hunter is this year's Yakuza 0 for us. It's a series it's been out for a while. we never really messed with it all that much, and then this may be one of the best versions, if not the best version of said series, and it's amazing. It's actually really is just the Yakuza 0 of 2018.
Incredible. It's incredible. That's weird because Yakuza 6 is coming out in a couple months here.
It's true. Yep. Did I see that got pushed?
Yeah.
Did I see that Yakuza 6 got delayed?
To August, or not to August, to April 17th, 3 days before fucking God of War. So,
well,
you know,
sorry, Kratos.
I mean, it'll do fine. Fuck God of War, I guess. If I got to choose one of my children here, yo, you've been dead to me since before Ascension. Okay, like that's.
Wow. Yeah. But anyways, Monster Hunter. So I remember playing, that's actually funny. I remember playing Horizon Zero Dawn and like fighting these giant like the T-Rex or what are they called, the Thunderjaw and whatever, and I was like this long protracted battle. It's like, oh, you finally win. And I remember going like, I wonder if this is kind of what Monster Hunter is like. I should probably check out that Monster Hunter game when it comes out. And Monster Hunter is not quite like that because it's not quite as.
It's because it's so much better.
Well, I mean, that is true. But like Zero Dawn is very like deliberate and like, oh, like you're like making like you're like taking pot shots at these animals as they do things. Monster Hunter is like, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna bash you for 20 minutes and they have to constantly be dodging and watching his attacks and trying to mount him and healing and using my like it's a constant like every time you fight a monster for the first time. It's an ordeal, like, and then the game is like, oh yeah, so you want to go back and do that though a whole bunch of times, because you need to. Because
we got this really good shit for you to get.
Yep.
Like you want that good armor, like you're gonna have to do this thing 5 more times. Like, yeah. I think like there was the thing that was going around. It was like Shadow of the Colossus. These monsters are beautiful and their deaths are tragic, and it's like Monster Hunter. It's like now go kill 5 more of them so you can make a hat.
Yep. So I mean, so the main loop of Monster Hunter, it does have an actual, quote unquote story mode. Story mode's pretty inconsequential. Like really, it's just a means to get you from point A to point D, from monster to monster, and ramping up from like the easiest like giant lizard thing up to frickin' dragons and Near Gigante, which is like a giant spiked flying dragon thing everywhere.
All spikes. The Elder Dragon, as he has been described, the Elder Dragon that eats Elder Dragons. That's a really good fucking description, though. That's so cool. That's so badass.
He is the elderest of the Elder Dragons.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, so the story is like, hey, you're a guy or a girl, I guess, because it's all custom. You get dropped off, and you're in the new world, and there's an Elder Dragon, which is this giant mountain thing, and you have to figure out why it's there and what it's doing. And the missions that are specifically around that, the Zora Megros, are terrible. They are awful.
Very good, no.
But every other mission in that game, which usually involves you hunting down some type of monster, and like I was saying, having this prolonged, interesting fight with it that goes from area to area, gives you opportunities for like environmental traps and strategy about what you want to do, how you're going to take it on. It's awesome, and the monsters are not just varied in like how they look and what they are, but like how they attack, what what is good to fight them, like how you avoid them. Like it's such a good game, and like that loop of just killing monsters, getting their loot, kind of going back and seeing, I have this loot, what can I make with this loot, or what do I need to do more of to get, like, it's the type of thing that I wish Destiny did, which is I see the thing that I want, and I know exactly what I need to do to get that thing. Like, I want that helmet. That helmet is awesome. I know exactly what I need to do. Now, maybe the path there's a little bit of RNG at the path, like, maybe it won't drop, maybe you'll drop like 3 of them when you fight it. Maybe it won't drop any, there's a little bit of RNG there, but like, hey, I just need to go fight that thing a couple times. Then I need to like pick up some bones out of bone piles while I'm there. Maybe do some hammering on ores while I'm there. But like, exactly what you need to do to get to that thing.
But then like, even beyond that, as you're going through more, you learn like, okay, I'm not getting shit out of this. Oh, here's a capture mission. Oh, wow, I got a lot more stuff out of capturing this thing. Maybe I should try capturing it instead. So, like, there's even this, like, learning path of when you're starting, you're just going and you're fucking killing, and you're like, okay, I don't get why I would ever give a shit about capturing these things. But then you realize, like, oh, okay, so if I capture them, I not only get more stuff, but it also places them in the arena so that I can fight them to the death, which is fucked. But I can do that. Like that's a much faster way to do those.
And also,
like, farmings.
And also capturing's a little bit faster because you don't have to actually kill them. You just have to get to the point where they're really weak, and then you take them down. And luckily, as I've been playing with random people online, I feel like the people I'm playing with now that are in high rank know that, and that is exactly what's happening. That's like refreshing to me. That like
every time it's like, hey, this person laid down a trap, so we all know what we have to do here.
Yep, we all switch to drink bombs. And so it's got multiple areas, and each area has a set of enemies that kind of come and go from within there. So like you can drop down in just the open area and just kind of run around and do whatever you want to without any particular quest. There are actual story quests. There are optional quests. Which are like repeatable ones that will be specifically like, go hunt this very specific monster, and then you can do that over and over again to, like we said, to get different mats and stuff like that. Or there are the investigations, which they give you a better rewards, but they usually have a little bit higher requirements. Like usually with most missions, it says like you can die 3 times and then you fail, and so like some of those would be you can only die 1 time, or some of those would be you can only go in with 2 people, you can't go in with the max group of 4 people, different things like that. But yeah, that's basically the game is about. It's about getting stronger. It's about killing more monsters, or capturing them. I guess it's not necessarily killing. As like I said, capturing ends up being a little bit more relevant, and then as you're going along, you're getting better and better equipment, better and better weapons, and it keeps that thing of, when you have those better and better weapons, you can go back and fight those things that you fought at like level 1 and just wreck them. Like just absolutely like I'm sorry, I meant to capture you, but I killed you too fast on accident. My bad.
Oh fuck, I killed this great Gyros in 7 hits. Oh no. Oh no. What did I do? It definitely, you feel more powerful, which, okay, so like we keep harping on the Destiny thing, but I think that it's fair, because I think that this game does a lot of the stuff that Destiny was trying, but this game, it succeeds in it, right? So, okay, I've got a mod on my gun. Also, every weapon feels vastly different and require different styles of play, which is not really something that you get with it. Like, okay, I've got a pulse rifle, or I've got a hand cannon. So, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more aiming with this one, but that's like kind of the extent of it. You kind of are locked into your playstyle based largely on your class. But here it's like, okay, I can always switch my weapons, because I can go back to those low level things. I could pick up like a low level weapon and just try it out there, or there's a training ground. But as you get into those higher and higher levels, okay, now my gun lance has poison on it. And on top of that, I have armor pieces that reduce monsters' poison resistance. So now, not only am I doing poison attacks, but I'm lowering their ability to resist those poison attacks. So where the mods with Destiny were these attempts to be like, okay, you're going to get some amount of feedback and you're going to have some more power, that never got expressly really shown. Like, you never felt that much more powerful with a 5 or a 10 on there. Here, it's like you feel each of those boosts. Like, you feel, okay, I threw on a decoration onto this thing. Now I'm doing more attack damage, or have more resistance, or whatever it is. You feel all of that shit really well. And I think this game does feedback probably better than most games that I can think of recently. Because, like, there's the individual weapon feedback of, like, when you hit, like, with the hammer, right? There's, like, that little pause when you do the impact and then it swings through. Or with the gun lance, it's like you can fire off the wyvern fire and it just explodes and it's this big thing. like you feel really invested in making your character feel as powerful as possible. And on top of that, you get feedback and form. It's dropping numbers out at you. How much damage
Mm-hmm.
are you doing?
Yeah.
So you can you can get that kind of feedback. I think like legitimately better than like a lot of these style games, like these loot games. I think really this one is the best that I can think of in recent memory in terms of making your loot not only feel like, hey, I look like a badass now.
Mm-hmm.
I look really cool. I'm digging my janky. I've got 3 different sets combined here in some weird way thing. Although I will say I was really upset because I was stuck with the like waistband for the Diablos for a really long time because that was the most powerful thing that I had. It just makes you look like you got these giant hips. So then eventually, like that's the other thing is apparently like late level or to some degree, you can go in and just switch the appearance of the items. It's like there's the deluxe edition that's on the PlayStation right now. If you go into like your little room,
Yeah, you can get the samurai outfit that like overrides your appearance, but not like the stats or anything like that. So
yeah. So like, and I don't know how far that goes. I had heard some people saying that like it eventually is like you can just make your character look however the fuck you want to, but I feel like I'm at the high rank at this point and I'm not seeing any of that, so I don't know if that's potentially tied in with like the Elder Dragon stuff.
Yeah, that's a little disappointed that stuff hasn't popped up yet. Like they pop up the ability to like customize the color of it, but even that's pretty minimal as far as like how the color changes when you can change the color. Which is similar, a little disappointing because it's the character creation that they have in this game is actually like amazingly deep for like for a game that you think it's all about just like putting armor and stuff on, and you're not going to see your character anyways. But the character creator is really deep, has a ton of options, colors and faces and messing with your brow and your cheeks and like all that stuff. It's really deep. And so it's at this point where we're at, it seems it's a little disappointed that the armor is not nearly as customizable as that. Like there's tons of different armor sets and you can mix and match every piece. But maybe that's something that ends up being later. So basically how the game works is really bizarre actually, is that you kind of play through to a certain point in the story, kind of like I would guess what's like the midpoint of the story. And then it unlocks what they call high rank, which is then through a story reasoning, which I actually wonder what they're going to do if they're just to be like, oh yeah, everyone's stronger. We don't need to explain it. Everyone's stronger. There is actual story reasons behind why everything is now stronger. But basically, you kind of can go back and revisit the same areas, the same monsters, and everyone has gotten stronger. And so actually, the first thing it does is it has you go back to like I think it's the first area that you go to. And it's
it's the first 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
the
like
desert and the forest.
Yeah, the forest. Yeah, and it's like, all right, yeah, there's one of these monsters in there, which is like one of the. It's like, oh yeah, I've killed that thing a bunch of times to pukey. And it's like, oh, it's no big deal. And like you run into it, and at least when I ran into it, like it wrecked me the first time I ran into it. I was just like, oh, I see what you're doing, game. Like this monster who used to be just a cakewalk is wrecking me, and that's kind of the point where they start unlocking what they call high rank, which is. That's kind of when the game actually opens up. Like it's like everything kind of prior to that, all 30 something hours of it is almost kind of like a tutorial because that's when they start unleashing what they call the decorations, which are the armor mods and the weapon mods. They introduce plus versions of the materials, which help you build even stronger weapons and even stronger pieces of armor. But they also they're introducing new monsters that you hadn't run into before. Like I've already at the point where I'm in, having played a decent bit of the high rank stuff, I've already ran into like 4 monsters that they've introduced that weren't in the original, like in the original group of monsters that you run into, and there's more beyond that. There's the Elder Dragons and stuff like that.
I will say that those ones that you ran into, they're kind of in a lot of ways just reskins. Modded versions.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like there's the one that like he's a bone guy, but now he's dropping bombs instead of spikes.
And there's the one that's a fish that's a lava fish instead of a water fish. Like it is true. But in theory, I mean, I guess I haven't actually killed any of them yet, so I would hope in theory that they drop different armor sets, or is it just reskin?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, okay.
They do.
Because like, look at that's all we care about, Adam. We care about the armor. We care about how does my guy look.
I went after the one that was the Jagras reskin.
Sure.
Who's kind of the first one you run into there, and I just did the capture on him because he's pretty simple to get.
Sure, yeah.
He's doesn't do a lot of attacks, and if you've got a shield out, like you're fine. But you get new weapons. That's also like, again, you have to do all that stuff because that's how you unlock the upgraded versions of your weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have those high rank weapons, which you really do, you really don't want to be stuck with low rank weapons, because like the multiplayer in this game can really make it so that you get carried.
Yes, very
which
much so.
Is I like playing the game multiplayer, so I do all my missions multiplayer as much as I can. I think that it's fun to do that. I think it's fun to see like how the weapons interact, but I also can handle myself okay in a single player fight. But you can definitely see where if you're getting teamed up with, you're pretty low level, but you're getting ranked up with Hunter rank 50, because they want to go back through some assigned missions or whatever.
Yeah, or they're trying to grind out a specific material to whatever that is. Yeah, they're going back and doing the same thing, and yeah, they can very easily carry you. I remember I was playing with Robbie Joe, and he was pretty early in the game where we were just fighting the Baroth, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't really gone in and messed with this thing yet," and so he did like an SOS, and I joined him, and like 2 other people joined him, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't think I really did anything there, but we killed it, so I guess that's great." Like, yeah, because basically there was like a level at that point, it was like level 15 or whatever, it was pretty low, but it was like, yep, you could totally just get carried. The way I've been playing it mostly is the first time I go to fight a thing, I do it solo. Like the first time I fought the Rathalos and the Diablos, and like I wanted to beat them. Like I beat them by myself, just to kind of see that fight, like get the exhilaration of beating it by myself. And then when I remember going back and grinding for stuff, then I'll just pop up a SOS flare, or I will jump into other people's matches. Yeah, I mean, because like we were talking about kind of the multiplayer. The multiplayer is a little backwards. Like there's like, so, and you're going through the actual story mission, you have to do this weird thing where like you have to play through a certain part of a single mission to watch what they call the cutscenes in the mission before other people can join in on that cutscene. That includes if you say like Adam and I were on the exact same mission and have the exact same thing to sit through, we had to sit through them separately. Which is not just a cutscene; it is playing through the game, walking around, doing things until you get to what they consider
tracking the monster.
Yeah, tracking the monster, killing Kestodons, blah blah, whatever it is, and then now you've like hit the switch that you're past that, and now people can join your thing. It's like it's got, there's weird like backwards things like that. Like I don't know what the reason is, they don't want you doing like the story stuff with another person there. If it's something about the servers or what exactly the reason is behind it, but that's a little annoying. But kind of like we're at the point when you get to like where we're at, we're in the high rank and stuff like that, all that stuff kind of goes away. Like it's not really a part of it anymore, it seems like. I'm sure there's probably a couple in there that are like have the cutscenes and stuff like that, but for the most part, what you're replaying a lot and doing most multiplayer is either joining other people's missions, which means they're already at that point so they can do it, or you are doing optional quests that anyone can just jump in at any time and it's not a big deal. The thing that only gets a little bit backwards is when you are like, you have to kind of figure out how to actually go in as a party. Like if you have a group of people like we were doing a couple times last week, there were 3 of us or there were 4 of us, and we were trying to go from mission to mission to mission, and how to do that's not easily noticeable at first.
Join the same room, create just a room.
Yeah, join.
And then invite everybody to that same room.
But they're not. But they're not actually. But they're not actually there. It's like
unless you go upstairs.
Yeah, it's a big hub area that is the equivalent of like the tower in Destiny, except none of the other people have a physical presence there. They're just there in the lobby, I guess. But yes, there is a part where you can go up and people are there, and anytime I've ever been up there, no one's ever there. So because none of the stuff you want to do, the workshop, the researchers, like all the places that you have to go in and check into every now and then between missions aren't up there. So why would you ever go up
But
there?
it's got that good arm wrestling thing going for it.
On it. You can't deny the arm wrestling. So yeah, the multiplayer stuff's kind of backwards, but like I said, kind of like once you figure out what that actually is, it's not that big of a deal. Like you have to work within what it is. It could definitely be a lot more straightforward. It definitely could be easier, but once you kind of figure out like how the SOS flares work, how like joining people instances, like there's still a thing where, what was it? I don't know. There's something where it's like I couldn't figure out how to get into Robbie's game, but I think it was just another one of those instances where I think he was technically in what they considered a cutscene, and so we couldn't join in until he had completed that entire mission, even though he was fighting a monster that I wanted to fight because I wanted to grind the materials for that monster. So there's some backward stuff there for sure. Yeah, the game by the way just has tons of style and heart. Like we even talked about the fact that not only do you spend the beginning of your game customizing your character, but you have a little cat buddy called a Palico who you can customize as much as you want to, change their colors, change like what their pattern on their fur is. And then of course you, on top of making armor for yourself, you have to make armor for that guy, and that stuff is usually completely adorable.
You gotta make him armor for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta get that Jester armor. That Jester armor is really good. I've got the Jester armor going on mine right now.
I like
it's a high level.
I like the Baroth armor because he looks like a little crown in his head, and I think that's funny. But
I like the there's one. I don't know if you have gotten any of the death paper at all.
I have seen those. Yeah.
But yeah, he's the little Grim Reaper, and that's pretty fucking great.
It's great.
Really good.
It's pretty great.
It's really good.
Yeah, and so like there's that. So it's like it's charming and fun, and then like the cats are all over this game. Like the main cook, who is this like beefy, muscular cat, which doesn't make any sense. Has this like him and like all his little cat chef friends have these great like intricate animations whenever you go up and eat food, which gives you bonuses on the mission, which are just crazy and cute and fun. Although I will say I just got like the upgraded canteen, and I feel like the animation and that's not as cool as the animation of what it was before, where like they pulled out
when he's cutting the giant steak.
Yeah, it's not as good as the one before where they were all like peppering and spicing like the turkey and the lobster, and then like he's cool, but you know,
put the lid on it and then cook it. Yeah.
The new one's not as cool, but like all of those are just cool. And yeah, like Adam was saying, there's a whole for no reason whatsoever. If you're up in the multiplayer area where you can actually see other people, you can just sit down and arm wrestle people, and it's the most over exaggerated people flying and flipping out of their seat when you lose that I've probably ever seen. And it's great.
You can get your own bedroom, and like if you throw out a capture net at any of the little like local tiny animals, you can capture them and place them in your fucking room.
Yep.
Fuck, this game is so good. This game is so good.
And it has so many little extra touches like that are, in like reality of the actual loop of playing that game, are completely meaningless. Like, there's really very little reason for you to have a room other than the fact that you can capture these like a dung beetle and these random birds and just set them loose in your room so that they're just kind of running around just doing whatever. Like, that's great. Like, there's no real reason except to go into there, except you want to go in there to do that and set that stuff up and to talk to your little housekeeper guy to
so you can do your Tail Raider safari, so that you can send your other little Palico friends out to go kill monsters for you.
Yep.
Say you can be killing monsters while you're killing monsters.
Yeah. And I love that a lot. All the timers in the game are timers based off of you doing missions, not based off of actual real life timers, which is a really smart way to do it. So it's like, like you send people out on safaris, what they call it, and like in some games, like what did it? Like Assassin's Creed Black Flag had that, where it's like you had like the phone app that you could send pirates off and do like missions and they would bring you back money. But it was like, all right, they're going to be gone for 45 minutes. Like this game's like, oh yeah, they're going to be gone for 5 missions. So it's like whatever missions those are, you're just progressing on it and doing it. And I think it's a real smart way to do something like that. Like you can just go, if you really wanted to do it fast, you could just go grind out a bunch of really fast missions, or you know, just as you were just playing the game, you'll just get a notification of like, oh, they're back, time to go check your stuff. It's such a good game. Like the loot, it's just like it's the loot game that I really wanted. Like there's so many things of it that, like you were talking about, that I wish Destiny was doing, just as far as like making the repeatable content worthwhile because you know what you're aiming for, not necessarily that what you're aiming for, not just being a RNG drop of like, I need to go replay this strike 5 times and hope that I drop the Hood of Malik or whatever it is. Like,
let me do my 3 heroic strikes this week, my 10 crucible matches, so that I might get something that either I will infuse or I will just immediately get rid of because it's not good enough.
Yeah, because it's not the thing that I need. Rather than this one, it lets you go through, look at the stuff. I mean, I will say you have to have beaten the related monster or have one of the materials first before you can even see some of that stuff. You do have to put the work in to kind of know what it is that you're looking for. But then once you do, it's like it very clearly lays it out. Like, do you want to make this helmet? All right, you need to go get 3 Antonath scales. You need to get a sturdy bone. You need, it tells you exactly what to do, and then you can
put that shit onto a wish list so that as soon as you have all of the required material, it'll give you a notification saying, "Hey, you're good."
Yeah, or just in the fact that while you are out in the world, if you forget what exactly you needed, you can just hop into your wish list and look. It's like, oh, that's right, I needed to go kill this one thing, or I need to go dig through these bone piles to try to find one of these sturdy bones or whatever it is. Like, it's a really smart way to do it. I will say, I mean, we've been talking a lot of praise on it. There's the little bits of the multiplayer and stuff like that. Like I said, the actual story is pretty inconsequential. And the mission, like I said, the missions around the actual the main Elder Dragon, which is Zora Magdaros, which is a giant mountain-sized creature, are just god awful. And the mechanics around loading cannons and shooting the cannonballs and loading the what are the bow and arrow ones?
The ballistas.
The ballista, yeah.
You've got ballistas, and then you've got tow hooks, basically that'll keep it in place. But then it's all cinematic, oh, he broke through at this one point. Oh no!
Yeah.
And then it's okay, we'll now go on to him and hit his back moles.
Yeah.
Hit the moles that are on his back.
And it's
no, Nero Gigante is here.
Yeah. Except that I was down in the middle, fighting one of those things, and it's oh, he's here, and I'm well, I'm busy doing this right now. And then it's all right, well, we scared him off. And I'm I'm so glad that we scared him off while I was in here fighting this other, just hitting this ore over and over again.
There was one of them where it was I was hitting one of his back sets, and it was oh, we're gonna transport you to this area because you're done with this part.
Yeah, you're done with this part.
I was but he's still got 2 more of these fucking things, and I'm one person, and I'm not doing enough damage.
Yeah, and also this drop when I do this drops materials. I want these materials. Don't do this to me, game. And then I did the dumb thing where it's there's this big, what do they call it? Dragonator. It's a dumb spike that shoots out of a boat.
The Dragonator, yeah.
It's a great name, but it's all right, he's ready, hit him with it, and I jump down there and I hit it, and it's oh, you gotta wait until he's dazed, and I'm you told me he was ready, you literally said that he was okay, whatever, just whatever, Yeah, but there's 3 of those.
Shoot your slinger.
2 of those.
Shoot your slinger ammo at the rocks that are above there. Oh, there's a rock. Where is the fucking rock?
I never got that to work. I don't know.
What one is it?
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to drop the stalactites out of them. I never figured that out. I don't know that one still. But there's only 3 of them, and that's by far the least thing that you'll play in this game. I don't know. Have you ever got bugged? I've had some people tell me that they're kind of annoyed that the fights are too long, that you're kind of just sitting there and mashing on the enemy over and over and over again. I was talking about with Horizon. Horizon was you were targeting specific areas of the creature to disable it. And Monster Hunter has things like that, but it's not very well spelled out. Yeah. What exactly should be attacking?
Well, I mean, it's always okay, attack the tail first.
Well, sure, yeah, because you want to cut the tail off.
Always go for the tail because you can always cut the tails off. But definitely to a degree. But the thing is that I don't feel and this again going to the comparisons, that wasn't there in Destiny either, and I didn't have a problem with that there either. I enjoy the kind of okay, I can just listen to stuff. I can just have a second setup over here. I can just watch stuff over there while I'm doing this fight, and I can kind of split my attention.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really, really bad fight where, I'm dealing with all sorts of crazy shit.
Like fighting a Rathian and a Rathalos at the same time. Like, no, you guys will each get your moments. Just go. One of you go away right now. Like, please.
Oh, and then there's the Tobakadachi. He's gonna show up in the fucking middle of this shit, and he's gonna try to get in on it.
That's good
no, I know
stuff.
the exact fucking fight. But like, you got to do all those ones because that's where you get all the good optional shit.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so I will say,
I don't mind.
It is. It's very much become a listen to podcast game for me. Because like while you were fighting these monsters, there's not a lot of orally that's going on, like or orally, you know what I mean? Like don't.
Yeah, I didn't say shit until you decided to point it out. Like that. That's on you.
I said
I mean, maybe. I guess. Okay. Anyways.
Family
show.
No, it's not. But no, it's very much become that. But like, I do wish there's a thing that pops up that's, or maybe it's in the Hunter notes that's like, oh, if you attack the Anzanant's throat, then you'll disable his fire thing. And I'm like, I've never seen that happen. And like, it'll constantly pop up that's like, parts are broken, and I'm like, cool. What did I break?
Yeah, I
would like to know what exactly I did. And then
because I've definitely gotten those parts disabled to where it's like, okay, this
he's not shooting fire at me anymore.
Rathios is not firing. He's not hitting me with fire. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we can deal.
That's good, but I'm like, I would like to know when I did that or how I did that. It's like
what it is without having to go. But the thing is, like, from what I understand, this is actually the most accessible one that they've made.
Yes,
so I kind of don't think. The thing is that like the past 2 or 3 have been like portable games, right? Like I think that maybe 4 Ultimate came out on like the Wii U or something like that. But...
I think there was a Wii or a Wii U version, but a lot of it's been 3DS or PSP as far as the latest Monster Hunters.
I don't like the fights in this game. I feel like I need to have more concentration than what I do with like a portable game. Like my 3DS, it's so fucking small. I don't know how people have done this for this long. Like, more props to you that you've done it for this long.
Yeah.
Like, especially on the 3DS. There was like an image that was like going around. It's like, oh, the camera's not very good in Monster Hunter, and it's like, listen here, you little shit. On the PSP version of this, I had to move with the control stick and use the camera with the D-pad. Like that's no, that's miserable.
That's awful. That's like going back to like Nintendo 64, like the C button controls, except I was used on the right side of the.
Yeah, use your control like this, and why would you ever need the D-pad at that point?
Oh, that's awful. That's yeah.
But yeah,
I hear
that. I think like it's doing the thing that we wanted Destiny to do. It's doing it really well. It has a real sense of charm to it, which I think is really helpful. Like, all of those animations are goofy. Like, they've always kind of said that they want to keep the game lighthearted, because they don't want it to be this grimdark bullshit.
Otherwise, you would feel real bad about all of the monsters you are killing, because
you're killing a lot of things in this game.
Because you know what? Like, a lot of them, they won't mess with you until you mess with them. Like, the dragons sometimes will, but like, if you just walk around, like, unless you really hang out by it, like intimidate it, it'll probably just walk by you and not really care about you. Like, most of the time you have to initiate that fight, and so it's really you're that's doing it.
You're kind of fucking up this entire ecosystem is the main thing.
Yeah, well.
But no, I think that this game is fulfilling the stuff that I've wanted out of games like Destiny better than those games have done it. I think that they are saddled with less bullshit than Destiny is, especially because, hey, there aren't any real microtransactions. Like, there is a little outfit stuff that you can get for like face paints and stuff, but
sure, yeah,
it doesn't have to be loaded with, here's your illuminated engram or whatever, you know. it's doing a lot of stuff that I think is really good for this kind of game, and it's just like it's caught me now. Like February, I mean, I can't think of much that's coming out in February. So I'm
Bayonetta 2 is coming out next week, which I mean, granted, that's not a new game, but
yeah.
and then Metal Gear the week after.
Oh yeah, Metal Gear is There's a PC beta coming out for that next week.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah. But like no, like I think that this game is fulfilling this niche of like I usually tend to have like a couple games that I'm juggling at any given time, and this is kind of fulfilling that like, yeah, I just want to go in and just want to fuck around for a little bit. I don't necessarily want to get too invested into a story or anything.
Yeah.
Like I just finished up Okami, so like I'm good with doing story for a little bit. Let me just like kind of go over and just go kill some monsters and get some goofy animations out of these cat people. It's really incredible, and yeah. I'm glad that it seems like it's a good introduction to the series. B, from what it sounds like a lot of the people who are in that community, because there was like a lot of people who when they first saw the game were like, oh, this game is gonna ruin it. It's gonna make it into a Babby game, but it's not a Babby game. It's like the full size Monster Hunter thing. So it's doing that thing for them. And it's also bringing in a lot of new people.
Yeah, because it's not so like trimmed down and simplified. Like I've heard some stuff about like the old ones where it's like Whetstone, something that we take for granted because it's just there and you can use it wherever you want to. Like you had to actually go get materials to make a Whetstone in some of the older Monster Hunters. Like, can you imagine that? Because you have to constantly sharpen your weapon because as you fight it, it's getting duller and duller. And
the gun, oh my god, the gun lance you have to sharpen like
all
after
the time.
10 shots.
All the time. The gun lance.
Use that thing.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you mentioned it. I don't think we've emphasized enough how, like, the game has 13 different weapons, if I remember right. And every one is like a different class. Like they play completely different from each other. They have like almost like fighting game, like maybe like shallow fighting game, like depth to how they use their movesets and stuff like that. Some of them are pretty straightforward. Like the sword and shield, like the first weapon you use is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. But like the gun lance has the whole thing about being in holding your shield up. You're attacking, and you can also shoot at the same time. The weapon that I've really gotten used to is the insect glaive, which is this crazy flying through the air, hitting people while you're up in the air, but then you also can shoot an insect out that does elemental damage. I really like the switch axe.
Heal. It can also heal, can't it?
Yeah, it heals you as well. Yeah.
So like you get a lot of options with that one.
Yeah, and it's like the switch axe is the other one I've used, which is it goes from a really heavy axe to a sword, and like you have to constantly switch back and forth because you're building up meters in either form so you have to kind of constantly be switching back and forth. And there's a bunch of special moves and there's finishers that you can pull off. Like it's insane, and not a lot of that stuff is super well explained, and like how the different weapons and stuff do. Like they always pops up like tool hints of like the moves that you can do, context to the situation. I can't say the word. Context, to the situation that you're in. But like a lot of them are really complicated. Like Robbie's been playing with the charge axe, which is a weird, like it's a shield that you can press a button and it turn into an axe, and you're like building up and like refilling vials of power that you need to use and I'm like I started messing with it, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, that's way too complicated, I'm gonna go back to what I've been using. But like, and there's tons of them, like there's tons of weapons in this game, and each one plays differently. I feel like I've seen a lot of people like you've basically stuck with you've stuck with the gun lance.
I've flipped back and forth between some stuff, but I've mained gun lance. Like I was messing a little bit with the insect glaive, but I was just not. I wasn't doing. I was always like I was flying beyond the monster. You gotta. In a lot of cases,
you gotta figure out like there's very specific like timing and stuff that you have to do with it when you are flying in the air. Basically, I've ended up like I think the Insect Glaive has become my favorite weapon, which before it was the Switch Axe. But when I'm fighting smaller things, I can't use the Insect Glaive because it just doesn't like. Insect Glaive is perfect for like the giant dragons and the like the Ogdoron and like all the like the stuff that are bigger. Like it's perfect for those because it's really easy to get out of their way. It's fly over them, stuff like that. But like.
You can land on their backs too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and mount them. Yeah, it's the game has like a weird like I think it's got like a hidden timer or something like that because you can't just like mount it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But like the weapons are just significantly different, and so like if you want to, like you could almost do a thing kind of like how I play Overwatch, where if you want to, you could just have like you can every single mission you could go in with a different weapon and mess around and have a completely different experience if you wanted to. Kind of like how I played Overwatch. I never mained a particular character. I went in and played a bunch of different stuff. The game is just so good. It's exactly the game that I was hoping it would be, and then it's like several times better than what I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be this cool game of killing monsters and have these epic moments, and like the loot loop is exactly the type of loot loop that I wanted to, and I absolutely love it. Like it's kind of replaced all games for me at the moment. Like it is like the thing I am constantly playing. I'm constantly wanting to progress. Like I'm in the middle of playing Uncharted Lost Legacy, and I was kind of going back and forth between this and Lost Legacy for a while. And then once I really got like hooked by Monster Hunter, I haven't played anything else. Like I haven't been playing PUBG. I had like all the things that I would go in and do like a little bit here and there. Like, I haven't touched Destiny. Like Iron Banner came and went. Like I'm not going to touch Crimson Days. Like I just don't like. This is the game that's doing the loot, the loot driven like multiplayer, like all that stuff. It's doing what I want to. It's fantastic. It's
goddamn, like it's incredible that this game hit us as much as it did, because like I don't think before we were ever the target for this kind of game. Like they were kind of
I
focusing
might have been,
on that,
but I'm not the person who plays games on portable, so it like generally it has to be a console game. And so like the fact that like I heard that like the Monster Hunter Zero I think was the last one that came out on 3DS if I remember right, something like that. Like I've heard that those games are always good, but like I've never wanted to check out them because they're never in a platform that I really want to get into them and play them. This is the perfect game for that, and it's also sounds like it's probably the best version of that game because of the improvements and the explaining as little as sometimes it seems like it explains, it's still explaining things more.
It does better, and there's also enough of a community at this point that if you want to go out and watch a couple of weapon tutorials, that's what I did with Gunlance. I watched a weapon tutorial that was like, okay, this is the situation that you want to use this stuff, and this is why you want to have this type of Gunlance instead of the bone type, because this will hold 5 shots, this one only will hold 2. Even though you can still do the same sort of attacks and it doesn't take that long to reload.
That's what I'm trying to figure out is the difference between the iron and bone. Because I'm like, oh, like they're like at first it was like, oh, I made the bone one because this is where the fire one was and I needed that. And then it's like, oh, now I killed a Rathalos and now there's a fire iron one, and I'm like, well, wait, like what's the like why is the iron one weaker but it has affinity? So I guess it's better. I need to look into that stuff. I probably should look some of those tutorials. There's probably stuff I'm missing.
The stuff with the Gunlance is a lot more complex because it's like, okay, you've also got like you've got your affinities, you've got your ammo types that it comes with. Like, do you have like a wide shot? Do you have a normal shot? Do you have a long shot? How many shells does the thing hold? Which is a big part of playing that game with a Gunlance is, okay, I can technically do more damage with this Gunlance, but it only will hold 2 shells.
So you gotta reload.
If I use the iron one, it'll hold 5. Okay. Now, if I use this one, though, it'll give me an electric boost. But how much elemental am I actually going to be doing if I'm firing it? Because it's not going to do any elemental damage with my shots. It's only doing elemental with it. So, like, there's a lot of layers.
There's a lot of complexity,
which I appreciate. I appreciate that it's not, like, super simplified. I feel like you have enough options and you have enough opportunities to just go, I'm going to fuck around with that for a little bit. I'm going to see what that's going to do for me. How is that going to work? They give you enough options. and they're also going to be adding in monsters for free.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So apparently they're gonna be doubling the monster count by the time that they're done with this game.
I can't even imagine.
Which then at that point you have to imagine that means that you're gonna have more weapon sets, more armor sets.
Yep.
This game, like they're doing so much right with this game.
Right now, just at launch, that if they pull off the support that like it sounds like they're planning to, like this is a game I'm going to be playing all year. Coming back to every now and then, checking out new monsters, whatever, and kind of like we were saying, I'm 45 hours into this game. And I haven't gotten to an end point of the story yet, and I've got to feel like there's still a whole bunch of end game hunting down Elder Dragons and stuff like that at the end. That comes way after that. So like this game has a ton of meat on it. Like it is, it's great. It's a great game. It's a great game. It's a pity it's not on PC. It's a shame.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 9 months.
Yeah, but like, are you gonna want to do? You're gonna put another 45 hours, 60 hours to get to the end game on PC when it comes out.
100 hours. Oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know.
That's the thing. Like me and my significant, we're gonna be playing that game together on the PC. So that's kind of the fun thing about that is I've always got somebody who like I can just play like right next to, and I can be like, okay, this is how we're coordinating it. That's really cool. But it's also a little bit bullshit that all of their multiplayer systems of like join up and stuff are like you have to have a fucking instruction manual to do it.
Yeah, it's you got some well no, you don't, you got it. You're good. You already know how to do all that stuff. You just have to, like all right, let's go through and let's both get up to this point where we run into the monster and then I'll exit out and join your game and oh god. Hey, you know what? But
just run because I have to go through the preparation phase first before it says that I'm ready to deploy, and then I can hit the button so that I can actually deploy, and then I'll land in a spot that potentially. Hey, before I do all of that, can you pull up your map and tell me which camp you're by? Tell me which region, because I need to know that. Oh, he's taking a bite out of you. Oh dear. Okay, I'll just go to. Oh no, I'm on the other side of the map. Shit.
It's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, no, it's a that's the thing. It's a shame. Like this. I mean, this game looks really good on the PS4. I imagine it looks better on the PS4 Pro. Adam.
Have you had this just reminded me, have you had the instance where you go to join up with somebody else's quest? Because I do a lot of like going to SOS players to do grinding stuff. Have you ever had the instance where they fucking finish the fight within like a minute of you showing up and you're on the other side of the map still?
I never had that. I definitely, one time when I was fighting the Legiana, like the ice dragon, where like its nest is like way up in the trees. And like I was, for whatever I was having a hard time climbing up to get there, and they killed it, and I literally could not get up there fast enough to carve it. And I was like, "Come on, like just come on now, that's just messed up." Like
you still get like some amount of stuff.
You still get rewards, but I definitely missed like 3 drops because I didn't get up there to carve it in time.
I think I got lucky because I think they actually did a capture
on
this guy.
Which then wouldn't matter at all.
Super lucky.
Yeah, wouldn't matter at all.
Because I was like, oh fuck, okay. This Puke, I'm fine. Oh wait, why am I going to fight the fucking Puke? Oh, it's because I needed to find more tracks. Shit, I didn't even have the chance to do that. Yeah,
it's a good game. It's a fantastic game.
It's really.
So yeah, that's gonna wrap up our episode for this week. Again, you can find us. Our website is pixelrelated.net. We are on Twitter at pixel_related, on YouTube and Twitch. Under Pixel Related as well. I'm Kyle. That was Adam. And we will see you next time.